Hey folks, so thanks for inviting me to share with you some of the stuff that I do day to day, which is threat intelligence. And I hope I can share something special with you today, something unusual. And that's information about threat actors. Basically talking about who are we building defenses against? What are we protecting against and what we should focus. So feel free to queue up questions. I'll watch those and let's get into it. So just a little bit background about me. I am a part of Coinbase Unit 0x. So we are a team of threat researchers, blockchain investigators. We try to understand what's happening in the ecosystem, who gets compromised, how, and what defenses need to be built. I'm also the author of the Blockchain Threat Intelligence newsletter, where I do pretty much the same thing, where week after week, I track who is the uncompromised, what is the latest blockchain security research, and trying to share it with the community. So to help inform. For the last more than 4 years now, in the past I did malware reverse engineering and did web team at the Federal Reserve Bank. So a quick summary of what are we going to discuss today. So first, we're going to talk about what is threat intelligence as a practice and why it's useful to you as an auditor, why it's useful to you as a defender if you're building projects. We'll talk about specific threat actor TTPs. So TTPs are tactics, techniques, and procedures. We'll discuss that in a bit. Then talk about why it's very important to build and just think about security, not just in general, like see what sticks, but like really intelligence driven to give you a better focus and effectiveness. And we'll talk about future trends all we got. Okay, let's talk about threat intelligence. First things first, threat intelligence is a source of actionable truth on adversary tactics, techniques, and procedures. The key here is actionable. We don't want to just talk about, hey, like this attacker does this, and these are the techniques that they use, and this is how they launder their funds, and this is how they try to get in. It's very important to give actionable feedback to projects that you're trying to defend, to say, what is it that you can actually do? Or if you're an auditor, what is it that you really should focus on? Because that's what attackers are doing. So if you want to save a project, you can't look at every possible thing. You have to focus. So what, as a threat intelligence analyst, what you do is you definitely track all on-chain incidents. You analyze what are attackers doing exactly, what is the exploitation vector? Are you like price oracle manipulation, or are they like dropping malware in your machines, or are they taking over your social media accounts and so on? You track the flow of funds, see where they end up. So different attackers, they have different preferences for where they launder their assets, which bridges they use, which chains they use, which exchanges. And then you come up with, as I mentioned, actionable intelligence, which is like, what is the actual outcome of your research? What can you learn from it? And you set the out. One, you understand who you're dealing with, right? You can't defend this without knowing who your adversary is. Then you can, once you understand who they are, you can prioritize where you have limited resources. If you're working with a project, you're advising them, you can tell, like, hey, like you have a budget. Why don't you invest a budget to defend against this adversary and these techniques, as opposed to just spending on everything possible. And then you can also prepare for the response. So no defenses are 100%. So at the very least, you know who your adversaries are, and you have some idea of how they operate and what you can do in case of an incident. Then it also helps set expectations. So if you're hoping to recover money from like nation states, for an actor like North Korea, not gonna happen. If you're dealing with like maybe a lone wolf researcher, maybe there's some techniques that you can use to help you recover.
That's really interesting, bro. Yeah, I mean, very interesting talk. I have a question about the Federal Reserve Red Team. What's that?
Federal Reserve. So Federal Reserve is a central bank of the United States. So basically, this is the partner of U.S. Treasury, which is responsible for the monetary policy in the United States. Red Team is a So that's the with compositions, you have, hey, like this is in scope and this is out of scope. Do this, but don't do that. You don't have that with red teaming.
Awesome.
Even you have a goal, like you need to take over base president's computer. And how you do it, listen, man, are you going to crawl through the air ducts and get in their office to plant a, USB key or a keylogger or something like that? Do it. Or
That's awesome.
Do that. So there's some rules, but there are very few rules. Like you have an objective, you're simulating not a hypothetical attacker, but a real attacker who can basically do whatever the hell they want to. That's it.
Amazing, man.
So that's maybe that's a separate topic to discuss with about the state of audits industry within DeFi and like all the competitions. They're very projects are very scared about opening up the gates for participants to do what needs to be done. And that comes from, I think, misunderstanding of what threat actors actually do and the degree to which they can go to target you. So that's why I think it's important to look at talks like this to get some exposure of their capabilities, because it goes a lot beyond the standard smart contract attacks.
Awesome.
Okay. Any other questions on threat intelligence? I can dive into some profiles of attackers otherwise.
Yeah, let's dive into it. Let's leave the questions to the end.
Sure. Keep track of them. Okay, so let's talk about who are the actual threat actors. Who are these folks? Well, they classify them in roughly 4 categories. The first one, that's probably who we're thinking of the most when we think of who's attacking DeFi projects. And the shadowy super killers, as they call. This is the APT that you get, by the way. You claimed it. And that's basically us. This is you, the auditor. This is you, the DeFi developer. Highly capable in terms of development. They understand Solidity. They understand development environment of how to deploy contracts. They have strong security capabilities as well. Then we have criminal APTs. So these are hardened criminals. They've been doing this for decades. They traditionally operate things like ransomware. They steal credit cards. And obviously, now that they're watching the crypto summer, they're like, this is where the money's at. So let's focus on that. So they're bringing boatloads of experience and, knowledge of how to attack systems to this new domain. Then, of course, we have nation-state APTs. And when we talk about nation-state APTs, we basically talk about North Korea. These are, state-sponsored actors who are given an assignment. They're usually in the military. They're told, this is your job now. You need to deliver X amount of millions of dollars per month or per year. Then last but not least is just something to consider is an insider threat. You have someone who is just pissed off, working for you and wants to do some damage, or just someone who feels they deserve more and they start stealing from. And of course, they have a lot of privilege because they're on the inside. These are roughly 4 categories. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for a few case studies for each of these categories and pay attention to, one, the type of techniques that they use to target projects, how they get caught, and pay attention to what would you do to catch an attacker like that. Let's talk about shadowy super killers. This is probably what we hear about the most. Some examples. So obviously the Razzlekhan Apple. That's epic story on its own. The hack that they're known for happened back in 2016. So there were no real smart contracts like that. And Ethereum was just born. So we're talking about good old Web2 infrastructure exploitation. So that was the Bitfinex that they sold $72 million from. I think it's worth like 10 billion at this point. And again, the background of these folks are, the techies, the coders, investors. They've been known in the hacking community before that. They dabbed in, targeted projects, but this was their big hit. And the way they got caught is they were not very good at laundering stolen assets. They deposited some of their funds to Alphabet. That was the marketplace, dark web marketplace, which was seized by police. And, they just went through the entire list of who was participating in that marketplace and went one after another with the participants. So up to 20 years in jail. Again, very smart, tech native person, just not a very good criminal. Then we have Toby. So this is the infamous, the DAO hack, right? $3.6 billion. The second instance of re-entry exploitation, the most well-known one. Obviously, this caused a big split. And again, like this is the blockchain developer, 10x founder, CEO. There's an amazing article written about him, like how he got caught exactly, how they identified him. Basically, just as the transaction anonymization evolved, so he used Wasabi transactions. The technology to trace through those, it also evolved. So they were able to trace through it. They got to the one of the nodes that he transferred the funds to and interacted with, saw that it was also the same IP address as its other project, 10x. He still denies allegations. I'm not sure where he goes with law enforcement, but there was an amazing book by Lauren Lin from Hanshin published about this whole thing. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, one question though. Those values are not updated, right? Like the DAO hack, those are the old values, right?
Yeah, this is the official values, yes. But you can definitely 100x that. This is an ability.
Awesome.
Yeah, whenever I'm tracking compromises, I always look at the value and the time of the compromise. Otherwise, the numbers just become insane.
Crazy.
Moving on, so we obviously have Ambient. So this is the famous Coda's Law argument. So Canadian kids, so he targeted index finance, $16 million. This is another smart contract exploitation, so pool price manipulation. That was back in 2021. And again, like smart kids based out of Canada, math major at the University of Waterloo. And again, caught very good at exploitation, not very good at OPSEC. So the way he got caught was he was publicly discussing the vulnerability before the act, arrested warrant in Canada, and was currently on the run, so he's a fugitive. Avi, of course, we have to mention Avi. So that's the Mako markets, fame, and the techniques that he used is price manipulation. And his background is like he's just well known for pulling rugs in the past, discussing vulnerability again in the chat, arrested up to 20 years in prison. Again, crypto native, not really hardened criminal, not trying to launder assets. He was found out very quickly, and then we know the rest of history. Shakeeb, so this is the Nirvana and Crema hacker. Price order manipulation, reward manipulation in those two instances. And again, like he's a security engineer, he's a security professional at Amazon. Just decided to go break plans. So to say, and again, that criminal caught laundering funds and Googling things like what is the DeFi hacks prosecution, how to evade, what countries he can buy citizenship from. So bad OPSEC. And arrested it up to 5 years prison. The latest one, and this is the most curious one, right? This is 2023. The Clive was hacked. Again, smart contracts exploit, logic error. Validly executed logic error. I think they locked up most of the funds that they stole, so they couldn't really get much out. And their background is they're two French brothers, self-knowledge crypto enthusiasts. And again, they have criminals caught laundering funds, transacting with the KYC exchange, so which quickly required them to law enforcement arresting the people not guilty, because in France they do believe code is lost. I'm going to keep in mind. So this gives you just some profile, some information of we dealing, but just some high level thoughts about our trend activists who are individual lone wolves or small groups really who are targeted DeFi projects. So they're financially and ego motivated sometimes. So ego just because sometimes you see those on-chain messages. There's a lot of ego in there. Like I remember a quote from the Swap attacker where he said something like, Mai's right. Like, yeah, there's like very strong belief in what they did. Primarily smart contract attacks. So the first one was the exception just because there weren't that many smart contracts back in 2016, and the DAO was the first big one, which kind of like showed everyone, you can target these systems as well. Usually get caught due to bad OPSEC and just being careless while laundering funds. And just to give you an idea of like the scope of it, most of the DeFi projects today, I think are executed by basically one of us, like just crypto natives, developers, blockchain security researchers. So $1.3 billion sold from DeFi projects back in 2023 of this type. And there were more like 300 different hacks. So we're dealing with similar repeats, but around 300 individuals involved in this. Thoughts on Shadowy supercoders? Does this align with what you folks expected?
Yeah, that's very interesting. One of the best talks we had so far, bro. Keep on.
All right. So things are about to get dark. So, I'll look at Shadow supercoders. We're just exploring new territory. We're experimenting. Sometimes we do stupid things. But now we're getting into darker things. So let's quickly talk about defenses against them, and then we'll dive into other threat actors. So how you defend yourself against Shadowy supercoders? Well, audits, contests, for the love of God, please repeat those things on all changes that you make. A lot of projects don't really have on-chain auditing or incident response programs, as in basically know when you get hacked. Just at the very least know when a bunch of money starts moving away from your project. You don't want to find out that you're getting hacked because someone is tweeting at you, and know what to do so you're not in complete shock. Practice whatever you build and think that you should do, practice it. The incident response should definitely both seal 911. If you're not familiar, look at Sam Sam's tweet posts and projects. That's the Security Alliance. Do the root cause analysis, understand how you got hacked. Do the on-chain analysis. Balancing negotiations. So this is where, the kind of like this ransom negotiation where you say, hey, you can have 10% or 40%, kind of like, like an open market, how much the attacker can keep before they give back the rest. They usually work. In legal and law enforcement action, they also work well. So we saw quite a few individuals get caught doing those attacks. So law enforcement and I guess on-chain investigators are becoming better and better at identifying perpetrators behind these attacks. So definitely consider referral to law enforcement. Okay, let's talk about insider threat. This is something that we don't think about. We always think of someone from the outside. We have this, native castle is protected. We build so many defenses with monitoring, with everything. And then you forget that you just, you hired someone who maybe is less ethical or malicious, or maybe, by design, they were trying to get a job at your place. steal money from you. So we know North Korea has been involved in trying to infiltrate crypto companies through fake identities, basically to get access without needing to hack anything. I'll just start with one example. So this individual was part of full finance just last year that had permissions to the smart contract, updated the price to redirect the funds that are being deposited in smart contract, so almost $2 million. Background, smart contract developer, so at large. I don't think he was ever caught, but he was definitely identified. And that's the thing about insider threat is that it really, like, if you have some kind of logging or you see who executed the action, it's usually pretty easy to identify who on the inside did this or could have done this. And then you can usually, by process of elimination, arrive to the insider. Usually they're financially motivated. Sometimes they're malicious, like they're just pissed at the company, so they're just gonna like self-destruct or they could have they destroy code or delete stuff or dump all your funds to 0000. That said, they're limited resources and they have limited logic capabilities. So I would say most of the cases of insider threat, they do get caught pretty quickly. But still something to consider. You don't want to go through this whole process. Defenses, background checks. Make sure that you know who you're dealing with. Do the KYC. You saw in the previous incident, like the guy had his voting card, so you really know who you're dealing with. So when you're dealing with anonymous developers, anonymous employees, you really don't know who is this person, like what's the skin in the game if they did something malicious. Exercise principle of least privilege. So does everyone need access to your smart contract? And everyone really need to update parameters in your smart contract or change settings on your infrastructure? Probably not. Make sure you have logging and alerting on all administrative actions, both Web2 and Web3. Key management. There's no reason why a single individual can single-handedly retrieve funds or move funds or do any kind of like unilateral action, which is sensitive. And that relates to single points of failure. Everything should be approved. Everything should include some kind of consensus. Just like, even if there's chances of multiple malicious insiders, which happens, are low. So you really want to defend against at least one bad individual, and then hopefully, additional multi-sig rollers or some other control will cache up. Any questions on insider threat?
Yes, one question that I have is how to control that. I mean, it seems pretty hard. Developers always have access, and if you need to have the right infrastructure protections, you need to have a bigger team, right? Founders they're falling into everything. They are hiring these people, putting them into work. They take very, very, very little care of that.
Yep, it's a hard problem to solve. I mean, if we really zoom out, the security industry exists since this time that computers were deployed. Since we're at it for 60 years now at least. They still didn't solve this. So the best you can do is we can minimize the risk, and these are the checklists that you can follow. To just don't give all control and all access rights to everyone on your team. Have some kind of retain some kind of administrative control that only you have. Make sure that the developers that you hire, they require some kind of consensus. So they can't just update or upgrade a smart contract or update settings in a contract without some kind of review. I mean, that will get you 90% there, and then the rest becomes very hard. You do background checks and source codes.
Awesome.
And the incident response, reach out to law enforcement, start digging through your logs, see what happened when, so build a timeline. I figure out like where did this happen? Like who triggered it in action, and where is it coming from? Back with funds. Again, we're dealing with usually with folks that they're not hardened criminals, right? They're just individuals that went this route, so they don't know how to run their funds as effectively as hardened criminals, so they usually get caught that way. And then legal and law enforcement actually work. So I know there are a few other insider threat cases right now. There are ongoing lawsuits flying around, and we'll see how they resolve. But at least you can take legal action against these folks. Okay. So I promised for you that things will get dark. It's all been kind of like we're dealing with just individuals. They've got kind of rogue. Now we're dealing with hardened criminals. So the games are over. These guys are professionals. They know what they're after. They know what they're doing. And they are now looking at our ecosystem, our domain, as prey. So some examples. So the famous FTX hack, right? $400 million stolen in the midst of the bankruptcy proceedings. It was crazy mess. Someone was able to get in, SIM swap one of the employees, took over their accounts, perform a hot wallet compromise, and stole $400 million. It's a really good article. If you're feel free to reach out. How the team was racing to save even more. It was like $1 million at risk. So it was a hot mess. The people that we're dealing with were caught recently. So Robert Powell and his SIM swapping crew, Robert was operating out of Chicago suburb. The way that they got caught is, they were kind of on law enforcement radar for a long time. They associated with Chopper Boys, so that's like drug trade and other things. He was living this exuberant lifestyle. There was no source of income. And I think at one point, a male person showed up at his doorstep and saw like there was like a wad of cash in his mailbox. It was like 10 G's cash just laying in the mailbox. That's apparently how he paid rent. Well, this person was arrested, so it's very curious to learn more about what happened and how he targeted FTX. That said, we're dealing with someone who is like a seasoned career criminal, and they graduated into SIM swapping. They graduated into ATOs. They're not really attempters. The size, like if you look at the actual transactions of how someone after this were laundering, they were using more traditional, like Eastern European techniques and channels. More likely than not, like Robert was part of one of the crews. So the way that criminal ATOs work is they're like very specialized, right? This is the ATO crew. They gain initial access and they hand off that access to more experienced folks for the actual fund staff, and then they hand over whatever funds they've stolen to laundering groups and so on. This is just one view of one of the groups. The other one that we should discuss is Oktapus. Again, highly seasoned threat actor. So ATP, by the way, is I mentioned a few times, is advanced APT, advanced persistent threat. This is what in the security community would classify like threat actors that, they're at it for a long time, but they're experienced. They will not back down. They'll keep coming after you. So Oktapus was responsible for the Fortress hack, $60 million. And that's what's part of the larger campaign where they targeted Retool. So that's one of the third-party services that we all rely on. Retool, they took over, again, SIM swapping, took over the employee. And then from that employee access, they could get customer data from Fortress and a dozen other crypto-related projects. They looked through their data, found API keys, hot wallet compromise, and $16 million they got. Again, we're dealing with like traditional criminal organization that is still, targeting traditional businesses for HSLS. We're talking ransomware, stealing assets, stealing credit cards, whatever. And now they're looking at us. We're like this fresh piece of meat that is just been sitting there. And now that we're in crypto summer, they get very excited. It's like, wow, like we can target all this. This is easy money. And they're responsible for so many other companies, so Okta, Cloudflare, Twilio, and so on and so on. And now, whenever they target these projects, which are all this data available, they look to see who are the crypto customers and then see if they can target them. So we're dealing with, this is probably what I'm worried about the most, like professional criminal organizations as opposed to like single individuals, because they're looking at our industry now. And that's something that points out like a lot of compromises that I've seen lately, they're related to not smart contract exploits, just third-party risk, right? Like we don't just run smart contracts. We have Slack, we have Discord, we have Okta, whatever other things that we use for within our companies just to operate, right? And those are all very much Web2 infrastructure that we rely on. And whatever we put in there, we have to understand that we are leaving the decentralized world and we're entering this very centralized and very hackable environment where whatever we put in there may get compromised at one point without you knowing. That would have the smart contract. Within minutes to hours, the whole ecosystem will solve the smart contract I have. When someone like retail gets compromised, it'll be months or maybe even years that those actors will be persistent there, will be stealing stuff without even. That's what. Okay, so this high level, here's what we're dealing with. Financially motivated, they usually have destructive, they're in it for money. Usually criminal teams are organized in specialized groups. So they have a crew for money laundering. They have someone they can outsource getting ATOs and doing SIP swapping, or even putting fake credit card or fake IDs and private licenses so they can perform SIM swapping. You know, someone plays really nice driver's license with your identity, then they walk into a cell phone store with the nicely printed driver's license to take over your account. So far, they're still sticking to traditional exploitation of centralized entities. So they're very good at infrastructure hacking. So they stick to centralized financial institutions, so exchanges basically, and their users. So they SIP swap them, the ATO. But we'll talk about in the future, there's no reason why they can't start contract. Just how it's all very decentralized, right? That's why they're called like various names like Hydra or Oktapus, because they're very decentralized. There's no reason why they can't start outsourcing Web3 exploitation as well. And we'll talk about it in a bit in the future section. But very strong money laundering capabilities. So they don't make the same mistakes as individuals. They have known channels, how to launder assets. They have ready-made accounts of non-KYC exchanges and KYC exchanges that they can activate on moment's notice. They know how to move money because they've been doing this for decades. So when you're dealing with something like this, it's not so much how safe are your smart contracts. So you should still do smart contract audits and competitions, but you really should step back and start looking at your employees' endpoint security. Can your employees get phished? What happens when they get phished? Can they throw malware? Are you going to detect malware that they throw on your employees? Infrastructure security. If you have the safest smart contracts in the world, but you're storing your private keys or you're storing some kind of sensitive API key in a third-party database, you may get compromised. When you do that, how do you secure that? Management. Think again, Web2 world. This is the boring traditional security. They have single points of failure. If one engineer gets compromised by these folks, like in the FTX case, according to the Department of Justice complaint, it was just one employee that got hacked. Why was a single employee at FTX able to siphon out close to $1 billion? Why was there such vast access available? So single point to consider. An incident response, you have to talk to law enforcement. So wherever you're based, FBI, Europol, whatever, are doing the infrastructure forensic analysis, trying to track funds, but most likely they will be laundered professionally and will be hard to recover. Bounty negotiations will fail. These folks, they know they can get away with it, and when you threaten them with law enforcement, they're just gonna laugh at you. Sure, a lot of trying to get me in whatever non-extradition country that I'm based out of. Law enforcement action may work, as we learned. So that was still a scenario with the Bit2Next hacker, where after years, so 2016 hack, it was discovered, years after one of the marketplaces got compromised, and then law enforcement eventually was able to link the two together. But don't expect for law enforcement to work fast. It'll probably be years and years until you can recover those funds, if at all. But you have to start thinking, like, what are you going to do with a project? Criminal APTs. Any questions on those folks? These guys are dark, and I'm worrying about those the most.
No questions, bro. Just keep on. It's very interesting.
All right. And of course, we arrive to nation state. And that's a whole next level, right? I mean, we're dealing with military. Okay, like these are kids that started creators, and let's talk about when we talk about crypto-related threat actors, which are sponsored by a nation state, really are talking about North Korea. So Larzarus is the name of the APT group. Within Larzarus, there are various subdivisions. The one that we are particularly worried about is the names of it called Blue North or APT38, depending which security company you talk to. These guys specialize in targeting crypto businesses, anywhere from DeFi to crypto individuals to specialists. So, like a few examples, Ronin Network, $600 million, again, as you mentioned at the time, now it's more. Harmony Horizon, those are stolen private keys. They're capable of performing smart contract exploitation if necessary. So in one of the hacks, they found a flaw that allowed a single compromised key to escalate privileges beyond what a single key should have done. Very proficient at centralized exchange hacking, so hot wall, compromised stake, AlphaFold, the list goes on and on. Individuals which are targeted by them, they are security professionals. So you and I were targeted by them to steal latest exploitation code or private keys as well. We're dealing with a military organization here, very well funded. They start these kids early on. They teach them computer science. They're very patriotic. They're motivated. Some are external contractors who are onboarded, and they are very well paid. So when we're dealing with nation-state APTs, they're very financially, but also intelligence motivated, and they can also be destructive. So we didn't really experience that with the crypto ecosystem, but I mean, one example where North Korea was pissed off, like if you recall, years back, the Sony Pictures made a funny comedy about their leader, right? The movie's called The Interview, if you want to check it out. Well, North Korea thought it wasn't that funny, so they basically obliterated internal Sony Pictures systems where they shut down the company as a punishment. So, piss these guys off. Nation states are extremely well funded. If you think that, like if you're thinking like, the individuals, like, sure, the best they can do, maybe they can stand up some infrastructure to host their phishing kits and so on. These guys can go on the open market and buy all their vulnerabilities, costing millions of dollars to target you specifically. Vulnerability that not a single AV engine can catch, that Google or Apple or whatever product they use doesn't know about. If they look at it,
it's very interesting.
They're very well resourced. So, latest report that I've read, the team that you're dealing with, so just the APT38, 1,700 people.
Wow.
Just think about that. Then 1,700 people is the number of people they can throw against your project if they think that you are valuable enough.
Wow, man.
How many people participating on an average competition? Hundreds?
Yeah, I mean, 200, 300. Yeah.
Average?
Maybe 3, 4 person. Yeah. 4 at max.
One thousand control 1,700.
One question, bro. How they get so good? Because when you think North Korea, you don't think a lot of technology. You don't think that they have access to the internet, and then I heard they go to China to training there, then come back. But how they get so good? I mean, this is weird,
The program started in the 90s. They recognized that, this new domain, they're crypto is the later stage, but they've been targeting just traditional Web2 infrastructure for decades. So they recognized early on that they can't compete against the United States or Western countries through traditional warfare. So they developed a new domain, which is cyber warfare. So they have been collecting intelligence, they've been involved in espionage, but then the latest discovery happened is that they see, wow, we can actually not only steal information, which is what they've been involved in until recently, but we can actually generate huge amounts of funds from these projects. They look at the crypto ecosystem as basically like this new industry, barely protected, crazy amounts of money involved. For them, this is a walk in the park. They've been targeting much more difficult systems.
I see. Nice.
That's something to keep in mind. We are dealing with a soldier, right? Like it's basically his job. We're contracted with, if you're contracting with someone like this, you're not going to go around and try experimenting with smart contract hacks. Although we're seeing a few indications that they're like diving into like governance hacks lately. But for the most part, they stick to what actually brings life. And it makes sense, right? Like you're a soldier and you're told you need to steal $1 billion per month. And if you do that, you'll get promoted. And if you don't do that, we get demoted. Maybe you're going to go start cleaning toilets because you're not good at hacking anymore.
I see.
So as a soldier, your incentive is to deliver consistently. That means you're not really incentivized to do crazy smart contract hacks, which sometimes work, sometimes don't work. You go for tried and true things like steal private keys. You have an arsenal of malware at your disposal, or compromise of hot wallets. You know how to hack Web2 infra, so you're just going to go after hot wallets. That's why, like, whenever you hear private key or hot wallet compromise and you see certain laundering techniques, there's a very good indication that this is a North Korean actor. Laundering techniques are very strong. Again, they've been doing this for a very long time. They know what's going on. And just an estimate of how much they collected so far and why this will be a continued threat. I mean, they sold almost $3 billion in a few years. Of course, they are going to throw and dedicate more and more resources because it's a proven source of funds for the nation.
I wonder how they launder it, but I guess there's ways, right, when you're the government.
Okay, well, if we roll back time, before crypto, before Tornado Cash, before all those things, they literally have the individuals, hundreds of individuals, positioned by ATM machines, right? Waiting for a signal to deposit debit cards into ATM machines within minutes of each other to withdraw stolen assets which just arrived in cash. So we're not talking about like, this is like industrial grade operation. The latest thing like with Torino and, dealing with going through non-KYC exchanges, this is their latest thing. But they're more than capable of doing other things. Like they've been doing this for a long time. I know.
I see.
There are like specific tactics that they use, and that's how we profile like, oh, this is grounded by Korea, is they're going to hopping the chain, they're going to Bitcoin, and they're swapping here, and then go to this exchange. So they're like certain else. It's like, oh, okay, I know more. That's how we identify what is behind hacking a little bit. It's looking at those techniques. But from a defender perspective, most importantly, you're kind of screwed. Like you're dealing with a country, okay? And I told you that they're very well resourced, very well funded. If they target you specifically, they will get. So the best you can do is to be just a little bit harder than the other guy. It's a horrible thing to say. You have to be just more defended, more protected than other DeFi projects out there. They can become a harder target to exploit. So hopefully they'll move on to somewhere else. Again, just like with criminal APTs, employee and endpoint security is the focus. They don't really hack smart contracts yet. So focus on your Web2 stuff, Web2 and people, infrastructure security, key management. Make sure that a single compromise of a single multi-sig key cannot steal everything. Things like that.
When we talk about hacking Web2 infrastructure, we're talking about liquid keys, right? Because they cannot just hack Amazon like that. They have actually a bigger team of security and a very strong one, right?
Yeah, I guess, yes, they can hack Amazon. It depends what is the target, right? If you're a valuable enough target, sure, they'll come after Amazon. They'll come after any infrastructure that you support. They'll come after Cloudflare. They'll come after, we saw a retool that's from criminal APTs, but there's no reason why nation state actors can't target just like your dependency where
Understand
that will yield them access. Yeah, 1,700 people, lots of resources. You do a lot of things at the same time. You can have a team dedicated to your infrastructure. They can have a team dedicated to your smart contracts, your people, your endpoints, and so on. Incident response, infrastructure, forensic analysis. So assume it's a key breach, and where the keys are moving, try to move funds to cold storage as quickly as possible, just to minimize losses. Obviously, bounty negotiations will fail, right? I mean, can you imagine, like, said, hey, congratulations, guy, you stole hundreds of millions from me. Good job. Can you keep 10% and give me the rest? No. Like, I mean, the soldier will, and you're dealing with someone in the military, like, no, they're going to get, like, executed or something, and they give back any stolen money. I think there was one time they were moving slow enough, and they got some of the assets stolen back from them. And I'm sure someone in their command team was pissed, because that was a few extra $1 million that they could have provided for the regime. So don't want to be there. So obviously not going to get any money back by trying to appease them and calling them white hats or whatever other things. Legal action is not going to work where you're going to sue North Korea. Law enforcement action will also not work. I mean, the worst they're going to sanction, maybe, I think there was like one person within the Korean APT group that was identified. I mean, they're going to sanction them. What are you going to do? There's nothing you're going to do. You're dealing with a sovereign nation with nukes. Well, there's not much that's going to happen there. So this is the hard one. And the reason why they call them advanced persistent threat is that this threat will continue indefinitely. They know this is a good source of funds, and they will continue using this, and you should be worried about that. These are serious players. They're not, maybe there's some perception that they're not advanced, but they're very advanced, very capable. Any questions on the nation state?
No questions, bro. I'm just in awe. It's in awe.
Well, let's talk about the future then, a little bit of takeaways. And then we can open maybe up for more general questions. The future, the place where when I'm worried about, I'm really like, if you want to be recognition of like where something is going to, just look at the past. So if we look at the past at traditional security, right? Traditional security starting about the same way. We first had just individuals hacking around. Like if you look through the history books of like computer hacking in the 80s, they were basically kids like messing around, playing with systems. A lot of it was just for the hell of like, can I do this? Can I actually, break into the system and so on. 90s, we slowly started seeing criminal groups taking interest just simply like as these kids were put in jail, they slowly started interacting with criminals. We started looking at it as an opportunity. They started collaborating. And then in the 2000s and later, we saw just an explosion of just professional criminal groups stealing millions and millions of credit cards and just really operationalizing this crap. Like they were industrial level theft of credit cards, data, and so on. We're seeing, unfortunately, the same trend. But we're still dealing with these super coders, and on the one hand, it sucks that they're doing this, but I get it. They're just experimenting. This is an exciting field. I just wish to spend more time maybe on security contests to lead their money legitimately, but I get. What's going to happen, though, is that criminals, real hardened criminals, are going to take interest, and they're going to start collaborating with these individual security researchers, and they're going to offer them their laundering capabilities and stealth capabilities, and they slowly will start working together. So we're seeing already like the rise of Web3 fish kits is already this industry adopting what's happening in traditional security, where there are phishing kits which are distributed with kind of profit sharing mechanisms. So we're talking about, monkey trainers, the pig trainers, all those great app kits. And we're basically adapting the same traditional exploitation techniques into the Web3 world. And then finally, the last stage we're going to see is full adoption of Web3 and DeFi hacking by criminal groups, where it becomes part of what they do. They focus on it full time, but they will graduate from what they know, which is Web2 hacking, hot wallet, and key theft, to actually targeting DeFi projects. It's still a little bit hard to do, and the return on investment is hard to justify right now. It's so much easier to steal tens and hundreds of millions of dollars by just taking over someone's X account and dropping a fish hit. But in the future, as projects get more and more value stored in them, they will become much more attractive for these criminal groups. So, some takeaways. I wouldn't freak you out. It's just the goal here was just to get an understanding of what we're dealing with. Just who are your threat actors? Who you should be worried about when you're focusing on defenses? And this auditor, what are the things that you should be focusing on in your limited time that will most likely get exploited? And we have an actual mental image of who's competing against you on the other side. Because as an auditor, you are part of the defense solution. You're being asked to perform an analysis based on kind of like simulating what the bad guys will do. And you're paid to do what they do. So you should try to simulate them as much as possible. And the way you do this, you understand what is your business and what kind of threat actors you will attract. So if you're a bridge, you should start thinking about theft and nation state threat actors. Smart contract risk is always there, but these are the people that will be very interested in you with much stronger capabilities. And once you realize that, then you can prioritize. Where is your budget go? What are you building? What kind of monitor are you building? What do you look for? Because as you mentioned, a lot of the teams in our space are tight. We have limited space. We have to survive. And security is important, but oftentimes we have limited time to spend on security, just the reality of it. This will give you a plan of what you need to focus on. So understand what are the threat actors and what are the tactics most important that you need to protect against. And shameless plug, stay on top of threat intelligence, like what is actually evolving, what is happening, because it changes all the time. So the shameless plug is the newsletter that I publish weekly, where I do talk about what are the latest hacks, how folks are getting compromised, and most importantly, what defenses we should be focusing on. And it's constantly evolving space. Like it's always something new, which is awesome. And with that, any questions?
Brother, I just want to say this is one of the best talks we ever had here. I made over 100 videos, and this is really complete, really cool. A lot of new knowledge I don't have because I'm one of the smart contract guys, and I'm not from traditional security. So I learned a lot just from ATPs and how these guys work and how they have these different crews. I'm just amazed. Thank you so much. We don't have a lot of people in the audience, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be a hit on YouTube. I don't know if Junior has a question. If he doesn't have a question, bro, feel free to drop any last thought, any last words, any message you want to leave to the community. And I recommend everybody checking Blockcraft as soon as possible.
Wait. Well, thank you so much for the invite and opportunity to share. I care deeply about the community, so it's going to share as much as I've learned on this journey with everyone. So thanks for that.
Thank you so much, brother. We're going to leave with that and see you guys later.